Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, my dear panelists. Welcome, all protocols observed. My name is Ryan Collier. I am the CEO of Rosatom Central and Southern Africa. Can everyone hear me? Everything's fine. Good. I'm honored to welcome you all here today to this important session dedicated to the efforts of non-governmental organization and grassroots community organizations to promote sustainable development through nuclear technologies. Many nations, and particularly developing nations, are currently formulating strategies on how to address their energy supply challenges and find the optimum energy mix to support their ambitious economic and socio-economic goals. These are crucial decisions that will affect the future of these nations and their populations for generations to come. Formulating the optimum energy mix is based on a balancing act known as the energy trilemma, which consists of security of supply, cost efficiency, and environmental impact. Nuclear is one of the only sources that ticks all three of these boxes and is therefore a very logical addition to any energy mix. Speaking of environmental impact, it is no secret that global warming is here, it's real, and it's time we did something about it. According to recent data, world sea levels have risen over 20 centimeters since 1870. The planet's average surface temperature has seen an increase of 1.1 degrees Celsius since the 19th century. And as at a first glance, these may not seem like significant changes, but they are triggering massive environmental consequences, including droughts, extreme weather patterns, as well as melting of the Arctic ice, amongst many others. Clean energy sources should therefore not be fighting for pole position in the global energy mix, but rather be utilized together to preserve our beautiful and diverse planet. Nuclear has a key role to play in decarbonizing our global energy production. By way of example, the 10 nuclear power plants currently operational in Russia satisfy around 33% of the electricity requirements in the European region, and together they prevent the release of around 200 million tons of CO2 emissions annually. This is significant input into reaching the decarbonization goals under the Paris Agreement. Beyond power production, nuclear technology offers vital solutions for healthcare and agriculture, mining, and science. Today, about 1/3 of all procedures used in modern hospitals involve radiation or radioactivity. These are procedures amongst the most effective life-saving tools available. They are safe, painless, and in most cases do not require anesthesia. They are helpful to a broad span of medical specialities. Nuclear medicine will play a hugely important role in improving the standard of living of millions of people across the planet. I think that all of us in this room can appreciate that nuclear energy is a critical solution to the social, economic, environmental problems we as a global community face. Unfortunately, there are many misconceptions around our industry. These misconceptions not only frame public opinion, but also limit the implementation of vitally important projects globally. It is these misconceptions that, as a collective, we should work together to dispel. Non-governmental organizations and activists worldwide play a vital role in informing the public about the benefits of nuclear energy, as well as dispelling the myths with their active involvement. It is my hope that one day the nuclear industry will be celebrated for its grand achievement of bettering the lives of millions of people across the globe, rather than frowned upon for the simple reason of not being fully understood. In this roundtable discussion, we will meet activists from different countries and learn about their goals, as well as the tools that they use to effect change. We will also touch on the question of whether business and industry should play a more active role in supporting the efforts of the pro-nuclear movements. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce the participants of this roundtable discussion. Please, I'm going to try my very best with your names. If I do butcher anyone's name, apologies in advance. From South Africa, we have a dear friend, Princey. She's a nuclear communications specialist and the Africa for Nuclear founder. Then we have Dr. Jenny Rena Sunrayo. I hope I pronounced that correctly. But they will introduce themselves once I start asking the questions. They'll tell you a little bit more about themselves and what they do. She is the leader for Women Nuclear Development, Indonesia Nuclear Society, senior researcher on Research Center for Nuclear Reactor Technology. Then we have Ignacio Martin Vishrosha, good, organizer of the Youth for Climate movement in Argentina. We have Tatiana Yanichkina, Director General, Energy of the Future nonprofit organization. And there we have Asma Hanafi Mursi, nuclear energy researcher at Alexandria University, founder of the Green Society Initiative in Egypt. Regarding the time limit, the session will be about 1 hour and 20 minutes. Colleagues, I ask you to please keep it brief. Speeches or answers around 5 to 7 minutes. And I'll ask everyone again to say a few words about who you are in the beginning of your speech. All right. This session brings together speakers from various countries and continents. I would like to pose the first question to the well-known nuclear communicator from South Africa, Princey, who advocates for human rights through promoting peaceful uses of nuclear technology for the benefit of humankind. I myself started out as a communications person working in the nuclear industry, and this area of work is very close to my heart. Princey, please tell us how you got involved in the pro-nuclear activism, and in particular, the tools that you have utilized to promote nuclear technology in your region. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. My name is Prince Mtombeni. How I got involved in the nuclear industry, it was a mistake. I found myself in the nuclear organization when I was looking for a job. And after the interview, I was not intending to go back there. Then my agency convinced me to go there. And then when I got there, I learned about what the organization is doing, which was nuclear. And then I got curious. I asked my colleagues questions. And upon realizing that there's really a lot of benefits in nuclear technology, then I attended different training programs globally, workshops and conferences until I was comfortable to speak about the topic. And then I met advocates from different countries who were advocating for nuclear through a movement called Stand Up for Nuclear. And then which really started convincing me that I can also do this for the African continent. And over and above that, I also joined organizations such as Women in Nuclear South Africa, African Young Generation in Nuclear, who also advocate for the peaceful uses of nuclear on the African continent. And yeah, fast forward, I founded a campaign called Africa for Nuclear, which is an advocacy campaign that aims to promote nuclear as a key contributor to achieving African Union Agenda 2063. That's just a...
Princey, thank you so much. I think that was a very happy mistake. I think we can agree that engaging people in these shared activities and working with these different organizations promotes a sense of belonging and stimulates a much better understanding of what the nuclear industry is all about. I've had the great pleasure of working with the African Young Generation in Nuclear as well as Windsor. So we do appreciate the work that's been done, particularly in Africa. On the topic of women in nuclear, there are several international organizations involved in the global nuclear energy industry that support women's initiatives. I think it's a major and very important direction of the nuclear advocacy, and Dr. Jenny Rena works in this domain in Indonesia as the leader of the Women's Development Department of the Nuclear Society of Indonesia. Dr. Jenny, if I could ask you, what are your organization's objectives and how does your work support women in Indonesia?
Thank you for the opportunity for me to speak in this very wonderful community, I think. Yeah. My name is Geni. I'm from Indonesia. I started my career as a researcher in the Indonesia nuclear atomic energy. Yeah, Indonesia nuclear atomic energy. And then when I was young, I'm old now. When I was young, suddenly I was appointed as a disseminator in Indonesia. So at the time, I think that I already finished my PhD, but I don't know nothing about how to fight to or how to make the argumentation if we are having a discussion with the anti-nuclear in Indonesia. It was very hard to me, but it is a very good experience for me. Yeah, I list down what the frequent question coming from the anti-nuclear. And then one of the questions they always ask us, if Indonesia constructing the nuclear power plant, is the human resources of Indonesia capable enough to handle it or not? This is the one question that always in my mind. So when I was have an opportunity to be a director for the nuclear reactor technology and safety, I put this question and to be my main project. Yeah, so I have to answer this question. So when I was as a director, I created some job or some project to do some design related with the nuclear power plants to show them that Indonesian human resource is also capable enough to understand well about the nuclear power plant technology or something like that. And then I had the opportunity to do that work for 6 years. And then with a good result, of course, we started the design collaborated with Russia at the time with Rosatom. We got looks like the licensing coming from Rosatom as the conceptual design. And then we break down into the basic design and detailed design. And then finally, our design can be listed in the IAEA ARIS document on 2020. So it means that Indonesia human resources also capable to be the technology provider on nuclear power plants. So this is one of the question, and also we can create some simulator related to our design. We call it RDE, reactor daya experimental, 10 megawatt thermal based on the high temperature gas cooled reactor at the time. So we produce some simulator to promote the technology of the NPP, yeah, based on it, to the public, to the young generation. Yeah, of course, young generation also included some ladies or women in there to understand well about how safe is the nuclear power plants if we are going to have that one. So after finish my duty as a director, so I have a time, yeah, of course. So I'm dedicated myself to be the active in the Women in Nuclear. So I've been pointed out as a leader of Women in Nuclear under a big umbrella of Indonesian Nuclear Society at the time. So on 2019, I think, 2019, but unfortunately there is a pandemic. But it is good for me because we can do a disseminator about the nuclear power plant or others nuclear technology application by using online. So we can cover the whole Indonesia. Yeah, the whole Indonesia. We created some dissemination about the nuclear technology once a week by online, and then the participants until now started from the pandemic. We are having more than 25,000 participants with different topic, but of course related with the nuclear technology. And then also we also promote some ladies speaker from the young generation up to a very senior speaker ladies also to speak in our webinars related with the not only nuclear, but they can be a speaker related with the fossil power plant to be comparable one with the nuclear, and then the ladies as a speaker on what is the perspective from the foreign minister or something like that about nuclear or something like that. So we continue every week with the dissemination of nuclear among the around the Indonesia from once a week. I think this is the effective one. And then now pandemic not already finished, but we still fighting with the pandemic. But beside the online dissemination, we are planning to have some person-to-person dissemination into the isolated area of Indonesia, maybe, if we are having the budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Henny. That was very interesting. It's great to get the perspective of an advocate who's actually come out of the nuclear industry as a nuclear engineer and having worked on the projects hands-on. And I think we can definitely see your passion. Now I'd like to give the floor to a person who maybe did not study nuclear science, but whose activism is motivated purely by enthusiasm and a commitment to learning. Some environmental organizations, such as Greenpeace, have long been active in opposing nuclear power. However, it can be said that the emerging generation of climate activists is increasingly recognizing the fact that nuclear power can be a solution to pressing climate problems. Presenting the Youth for Climate movement in Argentina, Ignacio is one such nuclear energy advocate. Ignacio, thank you again. How did you become an activist, a pro-nuclear activist, and what are you promoting within your movement? Thank you.
Well, hello to everyone. Thanks for the space. My name is Ignacio Villarrosa. I'm a 19-year-old climate activist from Argentina in Jóvenes por el Clima. I'm also a UN delegate for Pre-COP 26 of my country. And, I study engineering in renewable natural resources, and I'm happily a member of the Impact Team 2050 of Rosatom. Well, how did I become a climate activist? It's a long, and I have thought about that a lot in my mind before. I think that I'm a kind of an innate, climate activist since I was born. I live in a region very dry in the east of my country, and it's an oasis city. So we live in the middle of the desert. And since I was growing up, I would see that every time I would see like more, my city drier and drier, more than usual. And with only 19 years old, I would see the difference. So in less than 2 decades. So I knew that something was wrong and needed to be fixed. So later, I would see that also I'm a curious person. If I notice that with 5 or 6 years old, it's because I'm curious. And I'm a centennial, so everything comes to me through internet. I also grew up with internet. And I saw on internet that a science fair was coming to my city. So, of course, I begged my parents to go there. And strictly, they took me there. And of course, as every child would do, I would go to the dinosaurs, to see the dinosaurs. But then when, I would see the dinosaur, I would see like a long queue. I said, okay, a long queue. But I bumped into the, nuclear energy pavilion. And the young people that were there, they began to say, okay, if you're waiting for the dinosaurs, come here and I will explain you about nuclear energy. And I was amazed. Because nuclear energy for me, that was like 12 years old, it was something only for developed countries or maybe something that I would see in the Simpsons TV show with Homer, but it was something that was being done in my own country. And it was providing millions of people, thousands of or hundreds of people with a job, and it was providing millions of people with energy, with reliable energy. And it's something that it will happen even in my home, that I would like switch on the energy would be nuclear energy. So, and what you said about these new, climate movements and their new approach to nuclear energy. I think that is true. New climate activists, young climate activists are changing their view regarding to nuclear energy, but I think that the writing is not on the wall yet. I think we have a lot to work ahead. We have to keep on working. We have to keep on engaging with new movement, with young movements, because we are millions of millions. That is the first difference between this generation and the older generation, that nowadays the environmental movement is so diverse. You have pro-nuclear people, non-pro-nuclear people, so we have to keep on working a lot. Also, something that I see is that sometimes the question is whether we are pro or against nuclear, or sometimes also in these kind of spaces is nuclear or renewables. I don't think that is the question, but I think the question is, how do we do to make nuclear cooperate with renewables? I think both of them are so important. Both of them have advantages and disadvantages, and I think that nowadays we have to talk about safety, we have to talk about climate, and also think that mostly people, they are not against nuclear, but they have maybe they have not heard about nuclear before, as happened to me, maybe. It happened with some of my mates in Jóvenes por el Clima. It happened with other movements that I think we can keep on working, and we don't have to be afraid to cooperate and to work together, because we're millions and we're going to be more than millions in the future. If you ask to young people, to the centennial generation, I think there are studies that 70 or 80% of the young people think that climate change is a crisis of human rights, a crisis that endangers the capacity to develop in present and future moments. So I think that nuclear is important, but nuclear is not against renewable. Renewable is not against nuclear. We have to cooperate. Business and civil society have to cooperate, especially with young people. And that's why I'm so glad that I'm here, and not only in this session, but also in the Impact 2050 that was developed by Rosatom, because I think that is one of the first times that I see young people, like less than 20 years old people, coming with a big company as Rosatom and all the companies, because we have to keep on advancing together and debating together.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. I think we can all appreciate that, for our planet to survive and for our industry to move forward, youth need to play an absolutely critical role in that. So thank you very much. And I do agree with you in terms of what you said regarding, nuclear and renewables not being opposition. I completely concur with that. As a company, for instance, Rosatom has a wind company called Nova Wind, and we look at this being a balance of clean technologies that should be utilized together. So thank you very much. Energy of the Future, an independent non-profit organization involved in the development of Nuclear Energy Information Center, popularizes Russian nuclear technologies abroad through its information centers. The organization works with youth and oversees various educational initiatives for locals in Vietnam, Bangladesh, Uzbekistan, and other countries. Tatiana, please, will you tell us about the organization's activities and what extent are young people involved in the work of information centers and activities? Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tatiana Yanishkina. I'm Director General of Energy of the Future. This is a non-for-profit organization which runs information centers and public education programs on nuclear in the countries implementing nuclear technologies. Our effort as part of Energy of the Future are primarily aimed at educating foreign public about peaceful application of nuclear technologies. All fears and concerns about nuclear are usually associated with the lack of sufficient knowledge among the population. This, as a result, gives rise to many myths and prejudices. Most of our work is about debunking these myths. In our activities, we put special focus on educating younger generation as a starting point of growing the community of future generations, which embrace nuclear as a much-needed technology for socio-economic development of a region and for building sustainable future. We use lots of different outreach programs and activities, information centers, digital projects, on-site initiatives with direct contact with the audience. Let me give you just a couple of examples. Edutainment is the most effective format to convey complex and controversial information to the general publics. By both entertaining and educating people, we hope that our edutainment installations and activities at our information centers allow the public to retain and process such kind of information easily. A typical information center occupies the total area of 300 to 400 square meters and has a video hall combined with conference room, exhibition area with nuclear and science installations. It focuses mainly on school children and students. Each information center organizes a series of popular science events. Just like Science Festival. The festival robust program includes lecture, masterclasses, knowledge-based competitions, popular science talk shows involving well-known and young scientists. It lasts usually 3-4 days with 5-8 events per day, engaging additional audiences. Usually the number of participants of a festival ranges between 3,000 to 5,000 people for its entire duration. Another example of such kind of activity is nuclear bus tour. Last year in December, we organized a 5-day nuclear bus tour, which traveled across 20 districts of the country to create public interest in science and technology, and to create awareness about the safety of nuclear technologies and its use. During the tour, we organized over 30 roadside public events along the route, attracting more than 4,800 people at all ages. Another example of a digital activity is Global Atomic Quiz. On November 10 each year, we have been holding a major international online initiative called Global Atomic Quiz in honor of World Science Day. The format of the project allows participants from all over the world to test their nuclear knowledge and to learn some cool facts about nuclear physics and the latest technologies and various applications in peaceful atom. One of the key facts about the project is that it's available in 11 languages. That is why each year it gathers thousands of nuclear enthusiasts. Since its initiation in 2020, the projects have attracted over 30,000 people from more than 70 countries. And we have many more such kind of activities that I cannot tell you right now because we're limited on time.
Thank you very much, Tatiana. I really do like the idea of the nuclear bus tour, and I think that's something that we should seriously consider looking at in South Africa, for instance. So perhaps you can talk to Princey about it. I think we could have a nice collaboration on that. And you can then add another 11 languages, because that's how many we have officially in South Africa.
Another 11 languages, yes.
Another 11 languages, correct. I think we can see that Energy of the Future is involved in large-scale systematic work in cooperation with industry to promote peaceful use of nuclear technologies. I would now like to give the floor to a person who represents an independent activists who implement their own individual projects and rely on personal means of financing to bring about a better future. This makes sense, as they say, you start one person at a time. To change one person, you can change a village. All right, Asma, a nuclear physicist, along with her family and friends and colleagues, founded the Green Society initiative to combat climate change at a grassroots level. The society operates based on the principle, think globally, act locally. Asma, what are your community's goals and what tools help you to achieve them?
Thank you, and special thanks for Rosatom to take this opportunity for me to speak about green society. First, I'm Asma Hanafi, nuclear engineer, researcher at Alexandria University. Me and my two amazing and talented sisters, one of them is Hosna Hanafi, she is a visual artist, and the other one is Isra Hanafi, is a graphic designer. We founded Green Society to grassroots for nuclear advocacy, to divest fossil fuels, to make a change. We created change to build the future green leaders. We cannot speak about digitalization, net zero, without speaking about nuclear energy, technology, and application. But public not understanding well what is the meaning of nuclear energy, what is the application of nuclear energy. We created this exclusive coloring book for kids from 5 to 10 years old. It's 100% original, our work, starting from 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and we speak about activities which impacts our world and global warming, and also how it's ice melting is destroying our world. It's time to save our earth and back to nature. And here on application on agriculture, we start about impacts, then we have to speak about solutions, and we create solutions by plant more trees, by going to nuclear, and that was our slogan, clean energy, equal life. Here and here, plastic pollution, and also renewable energy. By the way, we used nuclear as renewable energy. Also, made it these 45 cards to link between 17 UNSD and nuclear energy and technology, because nuclear energy and technology and application is linking to each of these green goals. And this also another game. We created an educational system, very exclusive, very innovative, based on gamification art, because it's time to speak about creativity, to have the new entrepreneurs.
Thank you very much, Asma. I really do like the creativity of both the book and the cards, and I think it's a fantastic initiative. So it would be great to see more activists like you out there in the world, and like everyone sitting at this panel. So I think summing up our first session, we can see there's a wide range of pro-nuclear movements, ranging from very systematic, organized, to more perhaps creative and art-orientated. And we've seen a number of different tools and perspectives on how to promote nuclear energy. And I appreciate all of your answers in the first part of this session. So now we're going to move on to the second part, and I think in the second part of the session, I'd like to touch on some of the challenges perhaps that you face as organizations or individuals in this line that you have chosen. And I can clearly see everyone is very passionate about what they do. So I'm going to direct the first question to Ignacio. What sort of tricky issues are the most important to discuss with public right now, from your perspective?
Perfect. Well, our societies are full with misleading, ideas about nuclear energy, and I think that everyone in this room knows about them because it's so interesting that they are the same. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. Maybe you are in Zambia, in Kenya, in Argentina, or in Russia. These ideas are the same, and I think that is connected with Tatiana said before. That is that they have imposed us, as a society, misleading ideas through media about non-formal ways of education or thought. There are media, there are also, not only mainstream media, but also films and more, because that is how people are being educated right now and forming their ideas and thoughts through, that type of film, for example. Also, something that I say about the tricky things, I want to center now on how to approach that tricky things and issues. I think that something that we have to do is to talk about nuclear energy not only as a hard science, hard to understand, and so technical thing, but also to invite people, to involve people and civil society into the debate. We have to make nuclear known that it's not only a hard thing, but also a thing that we have to debate all in every space as possible. The main things that are in debate, I think, are first the final disposal of nuclear energy waste. And the second thing, I think it is related to non-proliferation, of nuclear weapons. And I think those two issues are very, very legitimate issues to be on the debate, and I think that we have to talk about them. In one sentence, I want to say that the way to approach these things is we need to have nuclear ambassadors. We need to have nuclear influencers. That's how centennials, young people, and every part of the society is working right now and educating and following the trends right now. I think we have to keep up on the new trends of getting information and providing society with information. Have you noticed that most of the time when we speak about nuclear, we speak about something that is only science, so cold sometimes, and people receive that information as like that. But we don't have to be afraid of having new nuclear influencers to show society how nuclear is part of the energy grid, should be part of the energy mix, and is safe and is resilient, and not only general public, but also in particular climate activists. Also, I want to add that the cooperation between NGOs, the cooperation between civil society and businesses is not only possible, but also needed and necessary. We have to come together, we have to discuss, but in order to make it work, we have to at first say and to be transparent and say what our goals with the meetings, our main interest in the meetings. We have to be transparent, and in that sense, we can work together and we can do very important things. If you are here and you belong to a business, don't be afraid of reaching out to your local grassroots movements. And if you're part of a climate movement or educational movement, don't be afraid of, coming together with local businesses. I think that in my region where I come from is Latin America, that we need development. We need to take people out of poverty. And we need, of course, energy. But energy has a cost, as everything has. And sometimes in my region, what happens is that the energy has a bloody cost, that is to take indigenous people from their native lands, some problems with local communities. And I think what happens with nuclear energy is that is the energy that less problems have with indigenous people, with local communities, because it's an energy that doesn't require that much of land. It's an energy that doesn't pollute the proximate environment, is only water. So it's so important for people to make that known, that you can have a nuclear power plant near at home and it wouldn't be a problem. And also to talk about the cost. We don't have to be like ignore the cost because there are costs, the cost and our prices. But I think with a debate and putting things on a balance, I think we can work together. And also about the mainstream media, about the non-educational things, as you talked. Well, I think I'm a living experiment, or my living example on how non-educational programs take people. I got obsessed with nuclear energy as a child because of a science fair, because of film, because of more. And look at this. Even it's more important that nowadays you see the atom model image, and most of the people relate that to disasters. Come on, we are made of atoms. So it is so important not only to reach people through formal education, as Rosatom do, but also formal type of education. So I think that is so important. We need nuclear influencers. We need young people to come on board and to bring on board other young people, as I did in the past.
Thank you very much, Ignacio. I think you touched on some very critical points there. I mean, in terms of transparency, we understand that we can't shy away from certain issues. We can't shy away from the topic of nuclear waste and spent nuclear fuel. We can't shy away from costs, but things need to be put into perspective. And like you rightly said, every energy source has its costs, and not all of them are financial. So thank you again for touching on those points. I'm now going to ask Ms. Hina what are the myths about nuclear technologies that are sort of the hardest to deal with from your perspective, and what tricky issues have you dealt with? Yes, you ma'am.
Yeah, thank you for the question. In case of our country, I mean, the public community always asks about. They are having the images. Nuclear is the atomic bomb. Nuclear is the scary one. Yeah, it can kill us or something like that. This is the hardest one to give the truth information about the nuclear to the public. And then, as I mentioned before, we already did some dissemination through the online during the pandemic, to give truth information about the nuclear technology application, not only for the energy, but also for the non-energy one. So our research institute already produced some good quality of paddy for nuclear technology for the medicine, to anti-cancer, or etc. And then we are also having the 3 research reactor for the welfare objective or something like that. And then also we are having, by using the nuclear technology, we can produce some, not only for isotope for medical purpose, but also the other purpose for agriculture or something like that. So we are doing that dissemination very regularly, as I mentioned before, through online. And then we are still having challenges. What the challenging is, we are sometimes we are having difficulties on finding a good or speaker. Yeah, speaker. So for that one also, we are dedicating some. We are trying to dedicate or educate the young generation to be our public speaker. So we give them some information about what our research institute already achieved. So the young generation public speaker can be another speaker for the young generation to the public beside of us. Because if we are, I'm the staff of the Nuclear Energy Agency. If we are talking about nuclear, they don't trust us. So if the other people with the other perspective, the other competence talk about nuclear, they will more trust. Yeah, this is the one of the challenging that we are facing, and then actually our agency also, the nuclear agency also already have the some a good project, I think, like the our Egypt colleagues talk. We are creating some the animation for the children to understand well about the nuclear. So don't be afraid with nuclear. Nuclear is our friend or something like that. The nuclear is not scary or something like that. That's for the elementary school or something like that. And then we also created at the time, we also, this is a success one, we also to insert the nuclear into the senior high school curriculum. So they will start studying about nuclear from the high school one. And then also we are trying, of course, to generate, of course, woman speaker, yeah, as a nuclear speaker, but not from our agency. This our effort to erase or to give a truth information about nuclear is not only atomic bomb, not scary one, but nuclear is our fare. Nuclear is the one of the technology that can increase our welfare. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, the nuclear industry did start with a bang. And I think, we have had difficulty as an industry from moving away from that stereotype and those misconceptions. And sort of building on that, Princey, given that there's not only this stigma that is attached to the industry, but in many cases there's active misconception created by certain opponents. So what sort of formats do you use to deliver your messages to audience? And as Henny touched on, it is difficult sometimes as the nuclear industry to be perceived as credible when we're trying to tell our own story. So what sort of formats carries the greatest resonance when communicating the nuclear industry's message?
Thank you, Ryan. I'll come back to your question. I just need to agree with my fellow speakers. They say seeing is believing, and people cannot be what they do not see. And I feel that our young nuclear scientists and engineers are hiding somewhere. We do not see them. I met a couple of them like an hour ago here from Brazil. I'm like, you're so cute. I mean, we need to profile you so that people can see that there's, cute nuclear engineers. So yes, you can't be what you don't, what you don't see. Also, I feel that as this industry, we are very secretive. People want to see something and then they will believe it. And people end up saying nuclear is explosive because they've never seen a nuclear power plant. I met a young lady at COP who said to me from South Africa, she lives in Cape Town. She said to me when she was writing an exam, she wrote that nuclear is explosive. I'm like, why Cape Town has not exploded? So yeah, I feel that we need to show more of our nuclear power plants so that people can see them and understand how they work. Now, coming back to your question of the tools that I use to promote nuclear. I use social media most because I believe that that's where you find most of young people, even though coming from a continent where there's a lot of people who are still without access to electricity. So a smartphone to some people is a luxury. So I do wish that, I go to grassroots levels where I, go to communities and do things that will actually touch people, things such as, organizing a football match and where we call it, Africa for Nuclear tournaments and even organize things such as, climbing the Mount Kilimanjaro, things that will, assist people in reaching their own goals and at the same time, reminding them of you. So it's sort of a win-win situation. So yeah, I also like the ideas that have been brought by fellow panelists here, and I will, engage them so that I stole some of them. Thank you.
Great. I think, yeah, absolutely. Collaboration is vitally important. I think we've all had the opportunity to meet each other now, and there's obviously a common goal with everyone sitting up here on this panel. So, yes, I think we should collaborate more, and hopefully we'll be able to change perception. I personally do think that perception is changing for the positive when it comes to our industry, and I can say that over the past 8 years, I've seen a drastic change within our continent, in Africa, and the perception around nuclear technology. So I think we should continue with that. Tatiana, if I may ask you, many public relations experts in our industry often rely on a lot of data, a lot of numbers, a lot of facts that we draw out of the industry. Do you think this is an effective approach, firstly, and do you think that this kind of information, facts, statistics, is interesting to people?
Well, it's important to rely on scientifically backed facts and bring experts in nuclear into the discussion. However, we need to reinforce a more grassroots approach. Despite the scientifically backed social, economical, and environmental benefits of nuclear, when it comes to discussion about the sustainable future, it is frequently shunned and outright disregarded. The industry and business measure success of nuclear technology in kilowatts of clean energy, GDP percentage points growth, number of jobs created, all of which are important, but how about measuring nuclear success in numbers of transformed human lives? Followed by this approach, last year we launched the Atoms for Humanity initiative, hoping to raise the awareness about the benefits that nuclear provides to the end users. In this campaign, we are shifting the focus from the still dominant technology-centered narrative towards the human-centered one. The initiative started with a series of short documentaries, capturing ordinary people telling stories of nuclear through their own dreams, both big and small. Egyptian fishermen, a young couple from Turkey, mayor from a small Finnish town, beekeeper in Bulgaria, photographer from Hungary, an activist from Bolivia, and so on. We hope to uncover and bring to light real-life cases from all over the world, not bound by geography or technology, to the atomsforhumanity.com. You may find these short films and much more on this website. And by the way, anyone can share his or her own story, because nuclear technology surrounds us in everyday life. We all know about nuclear medicine, use nuclear technologies in agriculture. So we face nuclear technologies in our everyday life, and everyone has its own nuclear story. So I encourage you to share it on atomsforhumanity.com.
Thank you very much. That sounds like a fantastic initiative, really. And storytelling and moving away from, obviously we can all agree that facts and statistics are important because we have credible facts and statistics to share. But I think, the human perspective of it and sharing personal stories is what captures hearts. So these type of campaigns all do require funds to roll them out. So my next question is to Asma. Do you think it is possible to cooperate with business and large business, and to what extent does this cooperation strengthen or compromise the audience trust in the activities that you are doing?
From my point of view, yes. We need this collaboration, but it depends on what is the mission of this business, what is the vision of this business. Is it support our movement or not? Because I don't like to go through greenwash or something like this. For example, in Green Society, we targeting to reach to 1 million green leader. We cannot reach this target without collaboration with institutions, culture centers, schools, syndicates, etc. So we can collaborate with the same point of view, with the same vision. We work on plant seeds. We cannot plant seeds without high quality of education, well understanding of nuclear energy technology application, especially the safety and secure nuclear technology and application. So yes, we can collaborate with business, but depends on the culture of this business and the outcomes from this collaboration. So it seems like networking, capacity building for very well and very understanding to nuclear energy and technology.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think all resources and collaboration that is possible should be made. On that note, I think we've sort of come to the end of our session, so I just want to thank the panelists again for joining today, but not only for that, more importantly for what you're doing, right? And not just because I come from the nuclear industry, but because I understand that the nuclear industry has so much to offer in terms of socio-economic development, economic development, and protecting the planet. So I think if we can take anything away from today's panel, it's that you don't necessarily have to be from the nuclear industry to appreciate the nuclear industry. So we really do appreciate everything that you're doing for the industry, and we hope that we can collaborate and work together to share the fantastic stories, the personal stories from within the nuclear industry and outside of the nuclear industry. So again, everyone, thank you so much for a very productive session today. Thank you to the audience. I think it's been a good discussion. I'm going to ask you please to just stay a little bit. We've got some gifts for you just to show our appreciation for joining today. Thank you very much. Please give them a round of applause.